Hello, everyone. Welcome to the November session of the AI and Learning Summit. You can see up here on your screen right now. Well, I hope you can hear me. But as you can see on your screen here, these are the four speakers that we're going to be featuring today. From top to bottom, you see Natalie Momois, Rachel Liu, Ryan Baker, and then Allison Powell. And we're actually going to be presenting them in reverse order today. I am Laddick. That's who I am. And I'm going to be your host. I'm going to be your guide, your journey master here for the next couple of hours as we go through this. This is what I look like. I hope that you have heard my voice before. We've been doing these sessions since June of this year. Very exciting. I think we're up to something like 40 presentations that we've put out there about this fantastical journey of artificial intelligence in the learning space. And it's a prescient thing because just 1 year ago is when ChatGPT kind of exploded onto the universe and has caught every sector by storm. Right? There is not a sector, I don't think, that has not been touched by this particular public phenomenon of artificial intelligence. Right? As I'm kind of coming here. I want to say hello to everyone. If you're coming in for the first time, if you're looking on YouTube, if you are on LinkedIn, those are the two places we're broadcasting right now. Put your name in the chat. Tell me where you're dialing in from. Again, I love showing my age that you're dialing in from somewhere. Where are you connecting in from? Right? Where are you connecting? We've had people join us from all over the world. We have speakers from all over the world. In fact, I'm trying to think where the three speakers are from today. I think they're actually all today, surprisingly, it's a rare thing. They're actually all from North America. But, we've had people present from Bali. We've had people present from different parts of Europe, from Latin America, again, from North America, etc. And we've had people join us from all over the world as well. So, as we start this out, I encourage you, just tell us where you're from, because it creates the community that we're all, that we all crave here in this virtual world we at. But back to that piece about the 1 year anniversary. I'm trying to think of when the first time I heard, that ChatGPT existed and whatnot. I know it was pre-January. It was definitely that, but it definitely even took me. Why, here I am, presenting about this or hosting this summit. But it took me a little while to say, wow, this is different. This is a game changer. Even though we've been using, right? We all know that AI has been a part of our lives for decades now, quite decades, and we have absolute game changers in the apps that we use, in the services that we use online, and in other places. Those are all, those have all been driven by AI. Many of them have been driven by AI for a very long time. But this publicly available space and this publicly available tool that allows us to create content, to do research, to find answers, and then massage them for ourselves. That was a really new phenomenon that has changed the game. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Today, I'm just going to put this here. We're going to be talking about a couple different things. First, Allison Powell. And by the way, this is over at elearnmagazine.com/AIL-calendar. If you go over there, or just put elearnmagazine.com/calendar, it'll take you there. And that's how you can find these and follow along. But I'm going to show you a couple of different places where you can do that as well. But Allison's going to talk about how to personalize learning through these tools, through AI, right? She's the chief academic officer of the Evergreen Education Group. She runs something called the DLAC conference. Their next session is going to be in February of next year. And what I like a lot about this particular session, not only Allison, she's brilliant, and she puts a couple of great metaphors out there for us to follow along with, but her focus is mostly on the K through 12 space, which in our universe, though, that we usually operate in at Open LMS and on the eLearn podcast, K through 12 never quite gets as much attention as higher ed or adult learning, or training and upskilling and whatnot. So I really like that she's focused there, and she's got some really great insights about what do we do? How do we use these tools that we have to personalize learning? Pardon me. As you can see here, there's an awful lot of content up there that you are going to be able to have access to. The second presentation that we're going to see today is from Ryan Baker and Rachel Liu. He is a professor and she is a student researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. You will hear their pedigrees when I introduce them for their talk today. But this fascinating conversation is about how they have implemented ChatGPT as a teaching assistant in their classes at the University of Pennsylvania. And what I love the most about it is that the presentation is they're kind of they're coming now to kind of end of semester, but when we had this conversation, it was mid-semester. So the jury was still out about what really worked and what were all of the challenges and how do they take the next step and whatnot. They go into the woods, in a little bit in terms of what they used to implement it, the how difficult it was, where it exists for students to access those kinds of things, which is really interesting. But then we also talk about more that human side of what's this feel like, what are there's a couple of, I'm trying not to give away too much, but there's a couple of interesting, like, oh, wow, didn't expect that moments that are going to be really interesting. So that's our second one. Then again, you see, I'm scrolling up here on the calendar page here. You see all of these conversations are available for you to watch right now. But then we have Natalie Mambois, she's the head of strategy over at a company called Hour One. And she's going to talk about how using video, AI powered video, or what a lot of people are calling virtual twins, are personalized and scaling on-demand learning, right? So Natalie is what I want to say is the demonstration that she gives is is around a very big client. Again, I don't want to give away too much right now, and how they've used these virtual twins, like they've digitized the image of a human, of several of educators, and how they're now able to use that to scale learning on a global scale, in a really radical way. And so I encourage you to check that out. So those are the three presentations that we're going to have today. Really excited about it. Thank you so much for learning with Jelly. I'm so glad that you are calling in from North Carolina, or Angelica Spratly. I guess you call yourself Jelly. Again, if you're watching from YouTube or you're tuning in on LinkedIn, let me know. Throw a comment in there. Let me know where you are watching from. And it'd be great too, to hear like what you'd like to get out of this, what sort of questions you might have and how you're experiencing it. If you're unable to watch this live stream, I'm going to be doing this now for the next 3 hours here. So if you're unable to take part in all of it, or maybe you can only do it a little bit, and then, you want to catch the rest of them, we always do have the option of the All Access Pass. And the All Access Pass is where all of this content is stored. And yes, okay, we're a company, we do this for money, yes, but that you can get access to all of these presentations right now. So here we are in the AI and learning, and let's just go to today's, and you can see that here's Allison's talk right here. Boom, you have access to it right now. You can pop that up and start watching it right now. Then you also have access to all of the other presentations that we've had in the past. The same for the ones that we've done in the future. Again, here is the Ryan Baker and Rachel Liu's presentation, et cetera, et cetera. The great thing about the All Access Pass, at least in my mind, is that not only do you have access to today's stuff, but you also have access to tomorrow's stuff, what else we put in there, the future presentations, but you also get access to all of the presentations that we've done in 2022, 21, and 20 as well. If I'm, to be completely transparent, the sessions in the past from 22 and 21 and 20 are not focused on AI and learning, but they are focused on how can you create more effective online learning experiences. And so you can see here, we have literally, dozens and dozens of these. I think I can't remember when we counted them last, but they're definitely looking at, in the hundreds of presentations that you would have access to. I know in 2021, we had about 70 speakers alone. And so definitely hundreds and hundreds of things. Final ask before we kick off the presentations today is to come and join us on our Discord server. And I'm going to just share that real here for a second. A lot of us use Slack at work. A lot of us use Teams. I think those are the two big ones. Some of us use use other platforms for sharing. We chose to use a Discord platform because this is, this is where a lot of people who are in the development space for AI are showing up. And so our Discord space is really easy to get to. You go elearnmagazine.com/AIL in learning. I'll put that up on the screen here in a second, but you can see, we have lots of people who are joining us. This is where you can learn about what's coming up next, where you can ask presenters questions and get answers. So we've had lots and lots of great interaction over the last several months here, with, going deeper on particular topics, getting clarifications. One of the key channels that I really like is this resource section for everybody who's presenting. They usually have several resources that they're putting out there in terms of research, in terms of tools, in terms of, other things to take further. And so that's all there. And then really at the end of the day, the reason why we created the Discord was so that we have a space where we can continue a conversation in real time, throughout, and take that into the future as well. Anybody who's listened to me knows that I'm a huge believer in community, and it's I just think that it's one of the most important things that we need to develop and continue to emphasize in today's virtual world. And I want to just put up on the screen here, here's how easy it is to get to that Discord server. Go to elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. Again, that's elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. You can join us over there. It's free. There's nothing, you don't have to pay for anything. And there you have it. So we're, almost 15 past the hour already. I appreciate you listening to my pitch and my spiel, but I think it's time to start our presentations. And so without further ado, I give you Allison Powell about how to personalize learning through AI. Or maybe I don't. Well, folks, this was tested yesterday, but let's make sure that we have this. So I am going to just re-add these videos here. And I think I know what's happening. So let's just go for this again. Again, I'm going to find Allison's presentation. Luckily, I know exactly where it's at. Shazam, and we'll bring her up on. There we go. See a little bit. Hello, my name's Ladek, and I'm the principal for e-learning advocacy at OpenLMS. The presentation you're about to watch is one part in our AI in Learning Summit. I encourage you to check out all of the talks in this series as we discuss the tools of today, the near and not so near future, and the challenges that we need to address around these new technologies. Our expert for this session is Allison Powell. Allison is the Chief Academic Officer at the Evergreen Education Group, where she's also the Director of the Digital Learning Collaborative and the Digital Learning Annual Conference, or also known as DLAC. Allison is also the former Vice President for State and District Services and New Learning Models of the International Association for K-12 Online Learning, which provides expertise and leadership in K-12 blended, online, and competency-based learning. While there, Allison helped write the national standards for quality and several other reports to expand and improve the field of K-12 online, blended, and competency-based learning. Allison has been working in the field of online learning for 15 or more than 15 years. She started as a K-8 blended teacher for Odyssey Charter Schools in Las Vegas, and then after teaching in a blended environment, the Clark County School District asked her to help start the virtual high school in the 5th largest school district in the country. In her role as an administrator for the program, she helped with training teachers, building courses, overseeing technology, and educating leaders on the benefits of online learning. Allison was charged with starting an online professional development program for the school district to allow all administrators, teachers, and district staff to meet their training needs in a more flexible environment. So this is a woman that you kind of want to listen to, especially as we look at this new technology around AI. So please join me as we welcome Allison on the main stage for her presentation about the power of AI in K-12 online and hybrid learning. Hello, Allison. Welcome to the main stage here at the AI and Learning Summit. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We have, speakers, and we've heard from speakers from all over the world. Literally, I mean, everything from Australia to Bali to Africa to Europe and South America, all over the place. Where are you sitting?
I am in Scottsdale, Arizona, in the United States.
Scottsdale, I love Scottsdale. It's just perfect forest. Striking distance, the Grand Canyon, all that kind of stuff. Super cool. Well, without further ado, I'm going to pull up your slides on the stage here.
All right.
And just make sure you can see them. We're all good?
Sounds good.
All right, take us away.
Awesome. Well, I'm here to talk about the power of AI in K-12 online and hybrid learning. So my background, I'm the Chief Academic Officer of the Evergreen Education Group, which hosts the Digital Learning Collaborative. And we're the association that supports K-12 online and hybrid learning all around the world. We work with schools, districts, states, ministries of ed, anyone who's doing K-12 online learning and providing resources, research, networking opportunities. We also want to put in a little plug for our conference is in February this next year in Austin, Texas. And AI is a hot topic going through proposals right now. I'd probably say 40% are on AI. So I've been kind of watching and listening to what people are doing. And I wanted to focus the presentation to start with is kind of what we're seeing is happening with AI in terms of online schools right now and the hybrid ones as well. And then kind of talk about more of the potential and where we see it 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, where it could be, and kind of talking about where it could go wrong and where hopefully the potential and the positives are. So what we're seeing right now and how online schools are currently thinking about it and kind of the questions they're asking. It's been interesting this summer going to a lot of different conferences. It seems the brick and mortar schools are still having conversations on how to ban it or how to go to paper and pencil and prevent the cheating, where the online schools are kind of thinking differently about it. And I don't know if that's just because they're totally online. And so a lot of stuff they've been doing has had bits and pieces of AI incorporated in it for the last few years, or just they're more innovative and open to new technologies. I'm not sure, but they're really thinking about how can we support the educators and the school leaders. And kind of right now it's more freeing up their time so they can really focus on the teaching and supporting students. And I'll share a little bit about the ways they're doing that right now. But the next steps are kind of what are the new skills that teachers and students are going to need in their next phase of the world that's infused with AI. I think this is going to be really important on the PD side and making sure students have access and what kind of skills are they going to need in order to use it. And then the personalized learning piece. I think that's the piece I want to dive into a little bit more because I think that's the true potential of what AI can offer K-12, especially online learning, but I think all education and all learning. So they're really thinking about it in positive ways and how we can use it rather than banning it. And so I think a lot of teachers and stuff right now and the school leaders are spending time more playing with it and really trying to figure out what it can do and these newer tools that are out there.
Super cool. I want to just pop in here real quick, just tagging on to what a phrase that you said just there at the end was, not accepting, but like, embracing this and having AI be a part of it rather than banning it. Are you seeing that? Are there a lot of school districts that are just like straight up, hey, you can't use this, like we've cut this out? Is that really like a what you would consider a big problem?
I think it was initially. We're starting to see people realize that it's not going to go away. And I think it was you, actually. You and I sat on a panel this summer, and it was like an article in Fortune that you said where the more and more people were using it since it's like opened up in November, and like every month, like millions of new people access ChatGPT. And then in June, there was a huge decline in the users.
Exactly. Like the big
decline. The only thing
all the students went away for the summer.
Yeah. So I'm like, they're using it. And I think the adults are finally realizing like, okay, we're going to have to do something. There's still, I just read, it was higher ed, but it was like, a university was going to do all exams paper pencil in the future this next year because they didn't want teacher. And it's like, no, we need to be thinking about how can we change assessment models and the way we're teaching and use it. Because yeah, it's scary, but right now, like, let's play with it and kind of figure out what we can do and what the potential is. Like, we're not going to know everything right now, but like, we need to start. It's not going away, and the kids are using it. Now we need the teachers and the adults to learn how to use it and figure it out in the right ways.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So kind of the current ways, I think, like I said, I think people are right now playing with it. We've got some new tools out there. There's new tools coming out every day. My next slide, I won't read all of them, but is just all the tools. So what we're seeing right now, students are using this to do their homework. So is homework going to go away? How do we rethink what we're doing with that? Some students are using it for tutoring purposes or for projects. It's like another team member. It's somebody to collaborate with on different projects and stuff they're doing in their school. Educators, it's kind of their teacher's personal assistant. It could do some administrative tasks, a lot of lesson planning. We're already seeing content writing to really cater and develop tailored content to each student's interests and needs. So you can ask it to write a book or a story for a student to read based on their interests and their reading and Lexile levels. So you can plug all that in and it'll spit out something, new content that'll really will be more likely to engage the student than maybe a textbook or an online course that wasn't working for the first time you tried to teach it. IEP writing, I'm getting both sides of, like, that's where the big debate is on, can it help write goals? And I think as long as you're not putting specific information about a student in there, I think it's a good starter. It's a good starter for any kind of writing, and it's saving a lot of time. So it's more an assistant to the teacher at this point, is what we're hearing from this teachers. And then school district leaders, it's saving them time, especially in the area of communications. It can write out a first draft for you of almost any type of a communication, and you can go back and edit and rewrite. Grant writing, any kind of proposals, RFPs, getting that information out there. It's a really good starter for all kinds of writing, and just kind of freeing up their time so that the adults can focus on the students and spend more time with them and focus on their learning. Like I said, there's websites out there. AIeducator.tools has a million different tools that are focused just for educators. A lot of these are K-12, some could be for higher ed, but they're doing anything from writing content, assessment questions, to creating avatars and videos. You can talk to historical figures and have conversations with them. So it's ways to get students engaged in learning, but also freeing up time for teachers. So I don't know if you want to share this deck out, that's totally fine. There's nothing in here that can't be shared out, but there's links to all of those tools as well for educators that want to get started and want to start playing around with it. So that's kind of what's happening currently and what we're seeing and how the K-12 online and hybrid schools are using AI. But I think it was fun putting this together because I found some really old, I've been in this field for 25 plus years and aging myself. But the one thing that we've talked about in the field of online learning is the potential of the whole field in online learning is that it can really personalize learning for every student. And we've been talking about this for 25 years, but we've never gotten there. We've never had the technology. And I think that's the true potential of where AI can take us in this field. So if you look at the student landscape now, and you think about all the changes that we need in education and what our learners look like today, how they behave, what drives them, it's hard for a classroom teacher or even an online teacher to meet every student's needs and meet them where they're at. These kids are coming in, a lot of the full-time online schools get the kids that this is their last chance. They're coming into a high school with maybe 1 or 2 credits and they're way behind in graduating. They're bored with school. This is the last place they're throwing them. And so how can teachers really engage with those students and really know that they're learning the material and ready to move on and interested and kind of have a clear path forward? Because every student has different interests, different needs, they're at different levels, and have different ideas of what they want to do once they graduate high school, whether it's going into career and technical education, going off to college, or taking some time to figure it out. So the true potential, it's a big mess. Like the roadways are all over the place. But the true potential is that AI and online learning together can create a GPS. And you can tell how old these slides are because we have the Garmin now.
I gotta call you on this slide, girl. Like this. I'm lucky enough to be older than you, and like this is like I remember when this was new tech, and that is some time ago.
Yeah.
No, that's wonderful.
No problem. Yeah, I was laughing when I saw it, but I'm like, that's how long we've been talking about this, and so I think that's where the true potential is. Because when you think about a GPS, you have access to all kinds of information. You plug in your destination and you get access to different routes, it tells you what the speed limits are. If there's a traffic jam, it's going to reroute you. It might give you places of interest along the way. So you can pull over and go check out the world's largest ball of twine in Texas or wherever you're at in the country or in the world. But you're programming that destination into the GPS, and it's going to give you immediate feedback if you're taking a wrong turn, and it'll reroute the students or the traveler. But if you think about it for the students, it's impossible to get lost when you're driving with this, and it won't be impossible for a student to get lost because you're still going to have that teacher with them. But it will give them different routes and different paces and access to different resources. And now the AI, I think that's the true potential. I don't think we're there yet, but this is 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. I think our technology systems will be changing. I've seen some demos of different companies already starting to think about this and the content that they're creating. But this is going to, if a student says, a student I saw a while back ago, she wanted to be a beekeeper. She was a freshman in high school, and they really wanted to help her become a beekeeper. And so they helped put her in different elective courses, science courses that were going to help her get there, gave her an internship. And so they plugged in her path of being a beekeeper. And once she started her internship, she realized that's not what she wanted to do. So they had to reroute her and change her schedule and the courses she was taking. But that took a lot of manual work on the back end. But it also provided her the option to change pathways before it was too late. And before she had spent all that time, she figured it out early on. And PS could help reroute it and take care of a lot of that administrative needs, but also build content. There's the potential for that to create content that interests her, and it could be changing. It could help provide feedback in real time while the teacher is going back and reviewing it as well and changing his or her direction. So
I wanted to just double down and emphasize one of the things I've learned over the last 6 months as we've done this and all of these conversations. I think there's so much focus on the content piece, on, are we creating original content? How am I giving feedback? Maybe building lesson plans, those kinds of things that I don't want to use the word neglect, but I think people are just starting to also think about that the other surface part around education of, as you just said, like rerouting a student, coming up with, a student plan, just even administrative tasks for teachers and days off and vacation, all these things like scheduling, the being able to use the power of these algorithms, is, I think could even be a bigger benefit in terms of time saving, in terms of just let's focus on the real work of educating. So I just wanted to double down on that.
Definitely. Yeah, it's exciting, and it'll be interesting. I mean, it could even change testing and assessment. Like I might be ready to take an assessment and you're not. And so we can time it at different times and do it when I'm ready and you're ready. So it'll let us move at our own pace and our own speed of travel if you want to keep using the personalized learning pathways. And it'll give everyone, instead of that first picture where it's chaos, everybody will have that pathway. And if we get sidetracked, that's okay. We'll get our new pathway and move forward on it. And so it was just fun to go back and look at those old slides from 20 years ago and see that that now we're here at this moment. And it's exciting to see where it can go. But thinking through all of that, I wanted to kind of end with some questions and to kind of be thinking about what's next, because we don't know where it's going. And it could go, we could see some really negative things come out of this, or there's the potential for the really positive things. And so I wanted to kind of kick off kind of a discussion or some ideas that I've been thinking about and our team's been thinking about where that true potential could be. I'll start with the negative so we can end on the positive, but kind of those crisis situations. Right now, if we kind of keep focusing on just the cheating piece, I feel like that's where the big focus is right now. It might be banning, or we need to go buy a tool that's going to catch all the cheaters and everything they're doing. I think the potential there of the crisis is if we don't change the way we're thinking about teaching and learning, students are going to have AI write their essays, which they're doing now, and teachers are having AI grading their essays, but who's actually reading it? So if the students are using it for their work, and the teachers are using it to grade them and give them feedback, nobody's really doing anything. So we're not thinking anymore. We're just letting the AI bots go in and do all of the thinking. And so that's a scary thought out there. So we really need to get the teachers more involved and be rethinking what we're doing, because we don't want nobody doing nothing. And those AI tools right now to catch the cheaters, they're way behind and they can't do everything. And I don't know if they'll ever be able to keep up with everything. So we need to be using our brains and our critical thinking skills to really be rethinking how we're assessing students and teaching students. It also has, did you want to ask?
Well, I was just, are there any, and especially with the DLAC conference coming up and the proposals you're looking at, or the conversations you've been in at the different conferences recently, what are there any innovative ways or I guess homegrown ways that you've seen of that second bullet point about, here's our process. And I'm going to lead the horse here, if you don't mind. For example, my wife, she runs an organization, and 4 months ago, they realized that, they started receiving CVs that were just absolutely fantastic, right? They post a position and suddenly, they had 5 experts that would show up that were just, perfect. And because of the process they had, the process they had in their organization, there was, we would review the CV, then they have a committee of people who come, and, so like they have all of this man hours that are devoted to making sure they pick the right candidate, and it's a egalitarian system. But what they found is that, they kind of were going through their same system, and like these people would show up for these committee meetings, and like 4 out of 5 of them really actually didn't know what they were talking about. Right. Like it was, and so now they've taken the decision to like, just put one thing in the beginning, which is, if you send us your CV, you then have to pick up your phone and then create a 10-minute video or like a 5-second video or 10 seconds, and actually explain like when you solved that problem or that technical solution or whatever it was. And that that completely changed it, weeded it out. So are there things like that you're seeing in the education space, in the K through 12 space?
I know for me personally, it's not on the education. Well, it's for our conference. So
nice.
we changed, we moved to a 3-part proposal process for submitting a proposal. There's 3 phases. So if you submit in phase 1 or 2, you get feedback. And it's been really beneficial this year because I can follow up with people, because a lot of the AI proposals they're like too good to be true. And I know the tools aren't that sophisticated yet.
Insta experts.
But yeah, they're like, it was a 20-minute session on how AI can write all your digital courses for you. And we're like, and we dug deeper into her, and she's doing like more adult PD, like the the required courses that everybody has to, like the 10-minute click through type courses. That was what she was thinking about, not writing an Algebra 1 interactive engaging course or a 3rd grade math course or English course. And so so you have to really dig deep. The other thing we're seeing, and I love the idea of the video, but again, AI could create the video for you too next year. But what we're seeing too is it's funny that adults don't get it. And I worked at a company that did micro credentials, and we're seeing this more and more, is that the adults are starting to play with it, but they're not as sophisticated as the kids in hiding their cheating necessarily, if you want to call it cheating. Like a lot of the proposals, we know which ones ChatGPT wrote, because when you copy and paste, like it has that little background color, and they're not changing it. And so they just are literally copying and pasting. And at another company that, like, it's teachers submitting evidence that they know something. So it is getting more competency-based personalized learning. But in their evidence, they're again copying and pasting, like it, because ChatGPT is like, I can't do certain things. And so they're not going back and reading and editing it. And in their evidence, they're saying it's like, as a AI tool, I cannot do this task or whatever.
That's just
like, that's just laziness.
That's just negligent. That is just negligent. And like, that's instant disqualification right there.
Exactly. So,
oh my Lord.
I mean, it's good that they're playing with it, but it's like, we've got to learn these skills as the adults too, in order to teach the kids how to think. Like it can't do everything for us. We still have to think, and sometimes it's flat out wrong. I've written stuff and asked it for resources, and the resources seemed sketchy, and I went back and couldn't find anything, went back and asked ChatGPT where they got them, and it said I made them up.
Yeah.
So just because you
and on that note, I want to point everyone back to one of our speakers in the September session. One of the presenters, her name is Kirsten Fraley, and her entire talk was around why data, the data needs to be the foundation of any AI implementation, in any situation, but definitely in education. And she just, her talk's about 45 minutes. It's really thick and dense, but there's so much meat in there and so many examples of, even just like, she starts out her presentation talking about, indicators for student success and at-risk students. And, they went through and used data around absences, or whether or not to, and she said, look, we thought we had this model that when we first started, where it's like, wow, we were finding all of these at-risk students. And then it's like, as soon as we peeled the onion one layer, we realized that the 10 districts that we were looking at all reported absences differently. So sometimes it was whether or not the student was there. Sometimes it was, there was time frames, or like, and it's just that the data was not consistent. And so that completely ruined, or, it was the single source of failure, obviously, in that particular. And so it's just what you're saying right now, where it's like, what data are we using in order to train these models, or, have that algorithm work on? I think that's the $1 million, $100 million question for all these districts, right? Exactly.
But that goes back to kind of those skills of using it, as we still have to question what it's giving us back. We can't just take it as, okay, everything it tells me is true and legitimate. And it'll be interesting too, like with the videos and it being able to emulate voices and manipulate other videos. Like, we can make like good and bad videos about other people. And somebody sent me a video last night. I could totally tell it was made from AI. It looked like it wasn't that great. And it was like a new sport thing. And I was like, I want to play this. And I'm like, this isn't real. And they're like, I totally had no idea. And I'm like, oh dear. So it's like, we got to think like that. I think critical thinking is going to be really important in all of this as well in the future, and just in the questioning. And that kind of goes into that third bullet point, is questioning. And I think it has the potential to enhance inequities in our students, and lower incomes, that kids that might not be able to afford the $20 a month to pay for a subscription, and the kids that can, if we're not rethinking how we're teaching and assessing students, the kids that know how to do school are going to get the higher grades, and then the other kids are going to fall further behind. And so it's about the access, but also about not questioning a teacher or something else. Those kids that follow the rules all the time and just sit there and agree with whatever the teacher says and doesn't question what's going on, they are going to fall further behind as well. So we need to learn those questioning skills, and that it's okay to ask them, and otherwise it could affect their future learning and student grades, depending on if a teacher posts something and it's wrong because they got it from AI. Like, am I able to question the teacher without getting in trouble or getting punished? And so really looking at that and the culture, is it okay to be questioning that and making sure all the kids have access to it, just like all the teachers do as well.
I see this, if I may be so bold as to leap into the positives as well, I want to turn this bullet point on its head as well, because as well as in enhancing inequalities, I think that all of the points you just put on the table are 100% valid. And yet at the same time, this is one of those difficult parts of this. It also could be a leapfrog moment for a lot of students, a lot of like, or even full institutions. I remember, when years ago I was starting, I was interviewing people, and we were interviewing a woman who basically oversaw keeping a school alive in the middle of the Congo during the pandemic, right? And just her ability to innovate around using WhatsApp groups and, a really low bandwidth, mobile friendly LMS system, basically allowed students to continue to learn. And so like these types of technologies for someone like that, or I'm thinking in other either economically disadvantaged situations or students who are like, look, I don't have any other access, so I'm going to use this as my platform to get forward. Like there's just awesome potential there.
Definitely. Yeah. All of the negatives could easily be turned into positives, but I wanted to have something to,
except for that feedback loop one, that very first one. I don't know how that turns into a problem.
Yeah, that can't be. Yeah. We just have to be thinking, and actually we got to keep using our brains too as humans.
Right.
And not let the robots take over like in iRobot and other movies out there. Yeah. And then on the potential side, there's so much potential here. I think the true potential, and this is what we've been trying to do in online learning forever, like not pandemic emergency remote learning, but the quality stuff we've been doing all right. So the potential is rethinking how we're teaching and assessing. If we keep having kids read passages, answer multiple choice questions for assessment, and they're not thinking, or having them write the traditional essays that teachers assign every day, but how can we incorporate more of these critical thinking skills and incorporate AI? Maybe AI writes the first draft, or it's giving you ideas for writing your paper, or you plug it in. Some of the things that I've seen where I thought it could have been written by AI, I'll ask AI if it wrote it, and it's very honest. I got a response like, yes, I wrote that. So it's fun. So it's, how do we assess and teach students in new ways? And I think some of the technology systems are kind of getting there with creating and curating content. I've seen some new LMS tools. I can't go into too much detail, but they can write not full curriculums at this point, but it's going to get there. But more lessons or passages. It can write a whole book for a student to read, and then pop that content right into your content management system, so other teachers can pull from that. And it's doing it in real time. And I think this, like that GPS, we can get those true dashboards for every student. And so we know exactly where they're at, what they need. We can give them that real-time feedback. It can help us assess students. So it might give the initial feedback, but then that we can take that as teachers and have conversations with the students on why it went that way or what they could do differently next time. And so it's going to lead it can do some of that initial stuff, but I think the teacher's still going to be that central person. The teachers aren't going to go away unless we go back up to that first bullet and everybody's just doing that circular writing. This AI is writing the essays and doing all the work. If we let it get to that point where the teacher isolates themselves and doesn't need, then they won't be that central person. But if they can get that PD on how to learn how to use AI and work with it, and it can be their co-teacher or more of a tutor, like after hours when the student's back at home or the teacher is working with other students. But that true power, and it can get more difficult, and this is where that PD comes in, is if the AI is helping to create the content and really personalizing it. So I was having a conversation, like you could have 25 students and you can have AI write each student a book and different assessment questions for comprehensive thinking. But as a teacher, I haven't read those 25 books. Do I have time to go do that? Do I need like Spark Notes or something for each one of those books to go along? But how do I keep up with all of the new content if it's different content for every student that's being created? That's going to be something that we'll have to think about on the PD side as well. But I think with all new technologies, new innovations, PD can sometimes be left out or comes later, where it's something I think we need to start thinking about now. We may not know what it totally looks like, but at this point, I'm seeing like districts and schools just sharing like ideas and encourage, instead of creating the policies right now, they're encouraging the playing. Like let's figure it out together. This next school year, let's try a few different things. They might not be overhauling everything they're doing, but they're starting to realize the kids are using it. As adults, we need to try to be one step ahead of them or bring the kids in on that learning process and develop some lessons, projects, and stuff together. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see that where that's going. But as the people providing the PD, we're seeing some superstars step up in the field and kind of going and helping districts. But I think right now is playing with it and starting to see where the needs are going to fall. And it's going to be an evolving system.
I think there's just the entrepreneur in me is kind of thinking about right now, like for that PD, there's just really fantastic opportunity for both all administrators, teachers / educators, parents, across the the adult spectrum in K through 12 and higher ed. We can keep them in there as well, but to flex and use this as a leadership opportunity, or use this as a career enhancement opportunity, or maybe this is an evolution in who you become opportunity. We know that especially in a lot of the public school districts in the United States, like, it's that one teacher's super tech savvy and they're the one who, everybody kind of turns to like, hey, how do I do this? So it's an opportunity for someone to maybe raise their hand and say, look, I really want to figure out how some of these things work. Maybe some savvy administrators like, hey, look, I've solved like a scheduling problem that we've had for decades. I'm going to share it with others. So I love that opportunity as well, right? That
definitely
for people who have that in their life or want that. There you go.
That's how I've been learning about it. It's like just playing with it and like, oh, I figured out a way to do this and share it with somebody else, and at different conferences, just conversations, even with people outside of education, like how are they using it and how can I transfer that to education? And it's sharing. So not just talking and making friends with the AI like I do. Somebody made fun of me when I shared it but I say please and thank you when I do a prompt. They're like, why do you do
honestly,
that?
we've had this joke several times, and you're not the only one. Like it's really interesting. And another one of our speakers named Michael Vaughn, he's here at Open LMS too. He's like, he's unabashedly like, he's like, I feel weird if I don't say please, and it's like, if it's like, I feel like I'm I feel like a bad person if I'm like, oh, no, thank you for writing that 10-page thing for me.
Exactly. I'm glad I'm not the only one, because people I work with make fun of me all the time, and I'm like, it's helping me out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So those are kinds of the things on my mind and where I see it going. I want to hear from what other people are doing, but it's exciting times, and these are just a couple ideas. I mean, it's probably going to change life as we know it, everything around us, but these are kind of the things that we're seeing right now in real time on where it's at. And I want to
quite
keep pushing
frankly,
the conversation of where it's going versus like, yeah, it's fun for right now, but where can we take it?
right. And let's, if we're really super honest, and again, we've had this thread throughout the conference as well, is that these are exciting times, and we're really kind of honestly, we're in the middle of the evolution of these tools, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you and I've been using Uber, we've been using Google Maps, we've been using, Calendly, and we've been using, Grammarly forever, right? I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
literally a decade now, and these are all AI driven tools that have changed how we live. This is another piece in that evolutionary puzzle.
Definitely.
And now it's so much more in our face because we can touch it and use it and manipulate it in these ways, right? So
Yeah. And like I'm like excited because I live in Arizona and our laws are more open to innovation right now. So forget that other people don't have it, but we have Waymo now, which is the autonomous cars. And
ooh,
so it was interesting because I've been using them anytime I can now. Like they've expanded across most of the Phoenix area, and it's interesting the information they're finding out, like with the autonomous cars, because we have big monsoons, like big storms and haboobs here in the summertime, and there was my friend was in one trying to get home from work. She took one from home from work, but the storm, like all the power went out, so the lights went out, and all the cars just froze. They
yeah, they
didn't
just
know
stop.
what to do, and so all these people are just stuck in their car. They can't get out; it's locked because it senses danger. And so it's interesting because they're so fun. Like you're like, oh, nobody's in the driver's seat, and it's talking to you, and like it's all exciting, but then it's like we know it's still not ready yet, because when that storm happened, like they freaked out. They hadn't tested them during the monsoon times. It was only
Right.
during nice sunny days here in Arizona. And so it's interesting to kind of see those quirks and what's going to happen with these generative tools, like, and when we put them into more mechanical, like whether it's a car or a robot or something else as well, and how does it respond to different situations that it hasn't been trained to do yet, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how do we get them going in
Super
that
cool.
way and teach them? Yeah.
Well, cool. I think you have one more slide. Yes.
I think it was just kind of how to reach out and contact
That's good.
me
No,
in
because that's
different resources.
yeah, everybody wants to know how to contact you for sure. I'm glad that you did put this up there for the DLAC website, and how to get a hold of you as well.
Yeah.
I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule. I know you've been traveling and you've got this conference and all kinds of other things going on, for taking the time to present this and talk to us today. I encourage everybody to reach out to you here, and then obviously come to the DLAC conference. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. This was a
Awesome.
lot of fun. Thanks.
Okay, there we go. Super fantastic. I can't thank Allison enough for presenting that. A great conversation around how to personalize education in K through 12 using these AI tools. As you can tell, she's been thinking about these types of things for quite a long time. Great examples there. I want to put it out there for anybody, for the people who I see right now who have joined us, who are listening to this. And I love her last example, the last conversation there around the autonomous cars that she has in Phoenix, because I've personally been fascinated by some of these tools that are coming out now around, using artificial intelligence and using generative products to be able to help us navigate life or create efficiencies for us and whatnot. And the one I'm fascinated with the most is a new tool by the company Humane, this pin that you can put here in this AI tool. Because the only thing that it goes through my mind about that is, like, I think of the book called The Circle, and do people, are you interested in having a tool like that with you, all the time. Now, granted, we have our mobile phones with us, so that's just it's another type of that kind of tool. But in her example, one of the things that the engineers and the creators of those autonomous vehicles didn't think of is like, what happens during a monsoon? What happens during a massive rainstorm or an event like that? And they found there's some real-time failure happening there in these tools. And the one that with this pin that I'm thinking about is, did they ever give these pins to, I don't know, a couple hundred people at a conference or whatever, and have them walk around at a conference and just see, what does that look like? And what does that feel like? And it not only can the system handle it that they have, but then do the humans also like what that feels like? Because when I visualize a whole, a room, let's just say a conference, a room full of 100, 200 people walking around with these devices, they're kind of always on and whatnot. I'm not sure. I would love, so here, that's, for me, that's a great way to say, why don't we come over? That's something that we can talk about over here in our Discord, right? Here we are. There's people over here. Chris is just putting up some of the resources from Allison's talk here around the AI educator tools. This is part of the podcast that I was mentioning there about Asina Kahamba, who put together an entire learning platform using WhatsApp basically during the pandemic. But these are the types of things. Oh, there's Chris asking the question about, have you ever taken a ride in an autonomous car right there? Go over to that Discord right now. Check it out. Like this, there's people there asking questions. You can ask questions of Allison. You can ask questions of me, of Chris, of other people. This is how we're going to grow together and learn together about these tools, right? And in order to do that, in order to get there, it's really, really simple. Just go to elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. Again, that's elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. It's no cost. It's totally free. It works just like Slack or Teams or, any other, or WhatsApp, I guess, any other, multi-channel chat platform that you have out there that you've been using in your work or in your life or whatnot. So come over there, check it out, AIL Discord. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to have you continue the conversation with us. Another pitch, if you do not mind, I'd like to make is our all access pass. Again, if you're unable to continue to watch with us, we have 2 more presentations still coming up. The next one is with Ryan Baker and Rachel Liu about how they've created and implemented a chat bot using ChatGPT as a teaching assistant in their classroom at University of Pennsylvania. Really fascinating discussion. And then we have Natalie Mambois. If you can't join us though, and continue on, consider the all access pass. All of the presentations that we're going to do they'll be up for 24 hours, live here. You can come to the link here on LinkedIn or on YouTube and watch this for the next 24 hours. But then it goes into the all access pass vault, as we say. But if you have one of these, then, you can hop on and look at it at any point that you want to. And they're all there. And you also have access to all of the other presentations that we've done since June. There's more than 40 there at this stage. And you also have access to everything from 2022, 2021, and 2020 as well. I am cognizant, though, that, we're coming up already to 11 o'clock Eastern time in the United States right now. And so just another reminder, pop over to elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. Join us over there. Consider an all access pass if you want, to get this information or to be able to review these at your leisure or, share with other people. And then at this stage, now it's time to go on to Rachel and Ryan. And I'm just going to bring up their presentation here. And away we go. Hello, my name's Ladek, and I'm the principal for e-learning advocacy at OpenLMS. The presentation you're about to watch is one part of our AI and Learning Summit. I encourage you to check out all of the talks in this series as we discuss the tools of today, the near and not so near future, and the challenges that we need to address around these new technologies. Our experts for this session are Ryan Baker and Rachel Liu. Ryan is a professor at the University of Pennsylvania and director of the Penn Center for Learning Analytics. Ryan has developed models that can automatically detect student engagement in over a dozen online learning environments and led the development of an observational protocol and app for field observation of student engagement that has been used by over 150 researchers in 7 countries. Predictive analytics models he helped develop have been used to benefit over 1 million students. Over 100,000 people have taken MOOCs that he's run, and he has coordinated longitudinal studies that spanned over a decade. Ryan was the founding president of the International Education Data Mining Society. He is currently serving as the editor of the Journal of Computer-Based Learning in Context. He is the associate editor of the Journal of Educational Data Mining, and he was the first technical director of the Pittsburgh Science of Learning Center Data Shop. Now, he currently serves as the co-director of the MOOC Replication Framework, or MORPH. Ryan has co-authored published papers with over 400 colleagues and has been cited over 25,000 times. Rachel is a second-year master's student at the University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, where she is majoring in learning sciences and technologies. She is currently working at the Penn Center for Learning Analytics as a research assistant. Her research interests include student modeling, educational games, intelligent tutoring systems, quantitative ethnography, and algorithmic fairness. These are definitely 2 people that you'll want to listen to. Please join me as we welcome Ryan and Rachel on the main stage for their presentation titled Implementation of an AI-Powered Virtual Teaching Assistant. Hello, Ryan, and hello, Rachel. Welcome to the main stage here at the AI and Learning Summit. How are you both? I know, Ryan, how do we start with you?
Great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Rachel?
Yeah, I'm doing well on this beautiful Monday morning.
Oh, awesome. So we have speakers from all around the world. We have speakers from Bali, from Latin America, from Europe, from many parts of the United States. Where I'm assuming you're both not sitting in the same room. Where are you both sitting physically in the world? Rachel, why don't we start with you?
So hello, I'm since I'm a student at University of Pennsylvania, I am currently living around campus. I don't live on campus, but I live fairly close to campus, about 30 minutes of a train. And yeah,
Excellent.
So I'm in Philadelphia now.
Philadelphia, nice. Ryan, are you there as well?
So I usually live on American Airlines, but I'm currently at home in Haverford, Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice. All right, great. I do love Pennsylvania. My family is originally from there. My mom's side of the family is originally from there. Fantastic stuff. I'm going to give you I would love to give you both the opportunity to just give the, a sort of a 60-second introduction about yourself. Obviously, now we know both you're both at Pennsylvania, but tell us about your background, your research, and what you're working on, and sort of set the stage of who you are for us. Ryan, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I'm a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, and I do research on engagement and learning in online learning environments using a blend of educational data mining, learning analytics, quantitative ethnography. I've been working on these problems for a few years and have studied engagement learning in a variety of different learning platforms, and excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
No worries. I wanted to give a follow-up right there. So for anybody who doesn't know what quantum ethnography might be, can you, in layman's terms, tell us what does that mean?
Sure. So quantitative ethnography is the practice of trying to get phenomenological, thick description style understanding from data, but data at scale. And so there's a variety of methods. For example, we use a lot of data-driven classroom interviewing, where we use machine learning to figure out what kid is having something interesting going on right now, and then we go talk to them. It's not what I think I'm going to be talking about today, but it's something I really am excited about.
No, yeah, that's super cool. Thanks for that explanation. Rachel, how about you? So you said you're a student earlier, but what's your focus? What's your research around, that kind of thing?
Yeah, first of all, it's an absolute honor to be here. My name is Rachel. I'm a second-year master's student at University of Pennsylvania Graduate School of Education, and my major is learning sciences and technologies. I'm currently working at Penn Center for Learning Analytics as a research assistant, and I'm also working as Ryan's teaching assistant this semester. And my research interests involve student modeling, educational games, intelligent tutoring system, as well as quantitative ethnography, of course, and algorithmic awareness.
I love this. This is going to be a chunky, very deep conversation, which is great. What we want to talk about today is how you have built an AI tool. And I don't want to like lead the witness or anything. I want you to describe it for us, but essentially how you've built an AI tool that you're using as a TA in one of your classes, or maybe it's multiple classes. So I'm sorry, who's more appropriate? Rachel, are you more appropriate to kind of sort of tell us how that, the genesis of this project, where it started, and those kinds of things?
Yeah, of course. So right now we have a virtual teaching assistant called GPTA. It is able to answer and also understand our course-related content, as well as using its existing knowledge to answer general questions. And the way we train GPT to be able to handle this kind of situation is through embedding approaches. So this is not actually the first approach we used in creating such a model. The first approach we used was actually to fine-tuning it. And fine-tuning would involve taking a pre-trained language model, such as the base GPT model, and then training it further on specific content or tasks. So in that way, we're actually changing the weight and also configurations of the models with our own content. But then we discovered that this approach would not yield as reliable or stable output. So we switched to the embedding approach. And the embedding approach essentially incorporates the domain-specific information into the pre-trained model, but without directly modifying or changing the model's architecture. So instead of changing the pre-trained model's weights or configurations, this approach actually converts the task-specific information, which in our case was any information specific to our course, into numerical vectors, which we often refer to as embeddings. And the embeddings are typically merged with the existing models embeddings in the GPT models. So it's kind of like a form of knowledge incorporation. And this would allow the model to consider both the task-specific information when generating the output, while still being able to use its existing knowledge in answering general questions. So yeah.
So yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
So yeah, that was fantastic, Rachel, on the technical aspects. Let me just jump in and say a little bit more on the kind of the whys. If that is okay with you.
Yeah.
So I think the big idea was that, our course, it's been running for years, and the discussion forums are always very, very busy.
First, okay. So, but first, what course is it? Like, are we doing a math course? Is this an analytics course? What is this thing?
So we're using GPTA for the first time in my course, Core Methods in Educational Data Mining, which is a programming course for people who really haven't done much programming before. It's the first course in machine learning for graduate students in the Grad School of Education. We'll be rolling out to a couple more courses in the spring, but right now this semester, that's the course it's in.
Fantastic. So, okay. So now tell us, so we have this course, break down the why and sort of, I'd love to go back to that first, that first seed, kind of like, hey, this is possible, let's bring this in.
Yeah. So the idea is that this course is discussion forum. The assignments are hard. Students post a lot about the assignments. They ask a lot of questions. And TAs and, me, we do our best to be active on the forums, but we're not always active at 2 a.m. when students are working. And sometimes, if students will post on the weekend, we're busy on the weekend. So what we did is we created this GPTA to answer some of the basic questions students have, give them some support with a little thing that we could kind of click a button and say, yes, go ahead and post this. And so they would get a faster, better answer than we could provide. It doesn't do everything we do, but it can substitute for us in a few situations and give students faster feedback and answers.
Okay, so that was kind of my second question or follow-up question was, walk me through what the actual interface looks like. Since you said there's a lot of discussion, is this only existing in the discussion forum? Is this somewhere where the students can find it somewhere else, etc.? Like, what's the actual interface look like?
It's just they use a discussion forum like they would use in any class, and then when they post, Rachel and Tanvi, our other TA, can respond, or I can respond. But GPTA can just jump in and respond as well. And we get this little email when GPTA thinks it's got something to say, where we can click yes or no to approve its post.
Fantastic. So now then take me to if you're implementing it this year, so we're in this, the academic year 2023-2024, just for posterity's sake, what was the, did you have to start thinking about this, early 2023? Was this something that you're like, you've been thinking about this for a year or two, and okay, now it has finally come to fruition? Like, what was the buildup to actually get it to a working place where you felt like it was okay to release in the classroom?
So our group started talking about it with Maciek, who's a junior faculty member here, who was kind of the lead developer on it, in I think about April. But Rachel, when did development get started?
So actually, the development started in the summer. So I was experimenting the fine-tuning approach I just mentioned in July. And at the end of July, we realized that we should probably experiment something in parallel, just in case the fine-tuning approach would not yield promising output. So in August, we started to experiment embedding approaches. So I would say that it took us a month to figure out how to do embedding approaches, and also to refine these approaches to figure out some possible strategies of improving model performances, and also to enrich our current training data so that it's able to handle diverse situations.
I want to let that explode in my brain and everybody else's brain, that you just said, hey, it's a month. It just took us a month to put together a virtual TA, and that one that we felt like was going to be reasonably successful. Like, it's absolutely incredible the speed at which these things move. How did you discover, Rachel, just a follow-up to there, that maybe your first embedding method, well, first of all, what different kinds of embedding methods did you have? Was it always the forum? Was that always the place that it was going to happen? Or were you considering other places that like maybe a computer in the classroom or a dedicated website or something like that?
So if I understand this question correctly, it is asking what kind of information did I include in the embedded data before.
Well, you said you were looking at different kinds of embedding and different kinds of, like, I'm in my mind that sounds like, where could we have this TA live, right? So a discussion forum is one place. It could be a dedicated chat bot that, you send people to. It could, were those different things, or was it always going to be in the forum? And then you're just kind of looking at different ways for it to interact.
So we actually developed a Python program, and in the program, it has everything starting from preparing the training data, actually sending the training data to OpenAI, and also to use the embedding model prepared by OpenAI to actually train a virtual teaching assistant, and to create some prompt engineering to further refine the output that's going to be produced from the model. And just the entire program is in Python that could be used in various platforms, not only GPTA, but also, I guess, if other professor would like to use this program in their own course, they can just change the training data to be more specific to their course and content, and use the remaining of the programs we have and build their own customized virtual teaching assistant.
Super cool.
Can I jump in for a second? I think the question a minute ago was on, I think part of the question a minute ago was on embedding, as we always were planning to have GPTA be in the class discussion forum. I think the word embedding, as Rachel's using it, actually has more to do with the technical aspects of the design of the model. Right. But our vision for this was always that it would replace us on the discussion forum. You could certainly imagine also having, for example, grading go through such a system. But I think the discussion forum is a really natural, good place to put this kind of agent that doesn't kind of take away from students' experience, doesn't raise questions if it would take away from students' experience, but just always adds to it, because it means that the whole class can see these discussions of GPTA, and Rachel and Tanvi and I can jump in when GPTA isn't quite right.
And does it kind of jumping forward in the conversation a little bit to student experience, was the general sentiment and feedback that you've received from the class like, this feels like a chat, this feels like something I've interacted with before? It wasn't a uniquely strange experience or anything like that. This is something they're like, oh yeah, sure, okay, there's a bot here too.
So we're doing a study, actually. We have IRB approval and everything, where we're going to actually get students' opinions on it across the semester, and we are doing that. We're collecting the data as we go. We'll check that at the end, but students are definitely interacting with GPTA. They're sometimes thanking it. So it certainly doesn't seem like they are weirded out or confused by it. Would you agree, Rachel?
Yeah, so we haven't formally analyzed the data we collected. We plan to, so we sent out a pre-course survey in collecting people's perception of virtual teaching assistant, and we're going to send out an identical survey at the end of the semester to see if people's perception have changed after interacting with GPTA for a semester. So we haven't formally analyzed the data collected, but I feel like at the beginning of the semester, people are still leaning towards the human teaching assistant side. And I guess we're excited to see how people's opinion might change at the end of the semester.
Yeah, sure. I would love to see. I'm sure everybody who's listening right now would love to see that arc of, does a student move from, as you said, leaning more towards the human to, hey, wait, actually, I'm getting some decent answers and feedback from the GPTA. That'll be really interesting to see. Mm-hmm.
And something I also observe is that, especially at the beginning of the semester, many students still prefer to direct the questions to human TAs and professors. I bet Ryan has received a lot of emails from a student asking logistic questions about the course. And I think that this preferences has gradually changed throughout the course. And we observe increased interaction with GPTA over the course duration. Many students are still not engaged beyond submitting their assignment on the forum, but we do see a lot of students starting to ask questions and start to ask GPTA's opinion or strategies of debugging their code. So I feel like we are having more students engaging with a GPTA than we had at the beginning of the semester.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, I'd love to hear just sort of your experience as well. Are you, I guess, we're kind of halfway through the semester right now. Has that been your experience where maybe more simple logistical questions, or like, when's this assignment due, or, what's the format for this assignment? Has that been the general use of the GPTA thus far, rather than sort of asking maybe deeper, hey, here's a paragraph that I have, and could you give me a feedback on this or something like that?
Actually, it's been much more of the nature of, I was expecting it to be logistical ones. It's been much more technical things. Students, putting their code in the form and saying, why isn't this working like I think it should? And GPTA responding. I mean, I have an exceptional, pair of TAs I'm working with this semester. So we're a bit confounded, but I will say that I feel like I'm spending way less time on the discussion forum this semester responding than I used to. A lot of the times, GPTA can just answer the question for us. And this morning, it had something wrong, but I got it wrong too. I didn't understand what the student was asking either. And the student eventually came to office hours today, and then it was only then I was like, oh, that's why this didn't make any
I don't know. Yeah, your call on privacy issues and those kinds of things. Are you able to share that specific example by any chance?
Yeah, it's an example where a student should have been putting in the symbol L0, but they instead were putting a up and down /0. And so they said, what is this supposed to do? Why isn't it working like it should? And they didn't put in full code. They just put in this little
snippet, yeah.
/0. And I was like, what the heck? But GPTA was like, oh, that does a bitwise OR. And I was like, well, that's true. Okay, I'll approve it. And then found out in office hours that they actually didn't recognize the difference between up and down /0 and L0. And just GPTA and I both didn't realize that was their misconception.
Very interesting that both the human and the TA were unable to conceptualize that without context, right? I mean, it ultimately came down to context at the end of the day. Step me back to when the class started. What was your process for introducing this to the class and letting them know this was going to be a part of it, and any sort of groans or excitement initially when the class started?
So we posted, so much of our class, is announced by email. And so the first time students heard about it was an email announcement about it, which was combined with a consent form to participate in the study. And we then talked about it in classes. I talked about it in class as well. I didn't get much groundswell one way or the other then, and I've consciously not looked at our data because I don't like to look at data in the middle of a study. Rachel, have you heard like you're close to the students. Have you heard a groundswell among the students of, the beginning of excitement or concern, or what did you hear?
So yeah, I've been talking about GPT with a couple of students at the beginning of the semester. Some of them indeed expressed some doubt about GPT in terms of accuracy, because I think the idea of having a virtual teaching assistant in the classroom is still something that's quite novel. So students were concerned about its accuracy and also if it truly understand the content of our course. And if I ask GPT a question, would it be producing something misleading? And actually, that would delay the learning progresses. So yeah, I hear a lot of students actually stating that, if possible, may I still email you or text you in social media if I have questions? But I guess this perception, again, throughout the course has changed gradually. But in the beginning, I hear actually more concerns rather than excitement. And I guess that's very understandable.
That's really interesting. And just a data point for us, how big is this class? Is it 50 people, 20 people, 100 people? Is it a seminar?
A little over 60, I think. Between
Okay,
two.
so 60. And just for clarification, graduate or undergraduate? Okay, all right.
Mostly masters with a significant chunk of PhD.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Mostly masters with a significant chunk of PhD.
Interesting. So what I find the sort of a little bit behind that question would be, these are students who are, I would say, doubly or trebly invested in the education process. They've really kind of have chosen a path, at least as a master, but then definitely as a PhD. So they're really invested in sort of the outcomes of this particular class. And I would say specifically in the data analytics, the learning sciences data science kind of pieces, right? Would you agree with that characterization? Nice. Excellent. So Rachel, you said that you've been, sort of the feedback that you've received or you've seen right now has been like more kind of trepidation, a little bit more like, no, let's not even say challenging, but like less than, wow, this is super cool, to like, that's interesting, but maybe sort of still skeptical. Are there any like particular stories or feedback that someone received, or things that happened in the discussion forum that you might point to say, I can see why people thought this or think this is a challenge?
I think there was, I don't have a particular example in mind where people, after looking at the output generated by GPTA, were kind of confirming the concerns they have initially at the virtual teaching assistant. But I do have some examples that after people seeing the output generated by GPT, they start to change their perceptions and start to use it when they're doing assignment or when they have questions about the course.
Great. Are you able to share one or two of those examples for us?
Yeah, so something we realize is that when it comes to especially illustrating concept or especially involving code and data manipulations, GPT can be incredibly convenient because it generates simulated data and can visually demonstrate changes before and after applying certain code to the data set. And this task would be typically consume a lot of amount of time and effort if it's handled by human. So we have an example where a student faced an issue when importing a file to the Python environment because they used an argument in the readcsv function. And the student actually indicated that a column name in the data file should be imported as values. And this has caused some discrepancy in the file that's actually imported. So, and with the help of GPTA, we were able to clarify the distinction between using this argument and not using it when importing the file. And GPTA generated simulation data and illustrate adding this argument to the function would lead the actual data imported to look differently than it would be if you don't add this argument to the function. And this really helped the student to solve this problem. Yeah, and after this, we start to see student posting more questions in the forum, probably because GPTA was helpful.
Wow. And so would you be able to give me some kind of idea of the efficiencies maybe that were realized in terms of, because GPTA was able to help, it was fairly instantaneous, I'm sure. If a human were to help would this be an hour of work, 2 hours of work? I don't know, Ryan, like with your history in the class and those, like what would be the difference if a human would have been helping them?
I guess it would just be challenging, especially when it comes to explaining a code in a remote setting when you're not talking to people face to face and you're helping them debugging. It usually take a lot of the time, and sometimes at least I struggle to make things clear to the students, to make sure that we're really on the same page, and that could take a lot of effort. And with the help of GPTA, we can just come up with simulated examples, and it would take less than a minute for GPTA to generate that. But for me, I think at least it would take 20 minutes to come up with an example and to actually illustrate and also format the data in a sense that it would really show the difference with and without that argument.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about my experience. Ryan, I'll come to you. My experience in working with forums with students as well. I mean, it's just a huge time suck for the human. And then when you find yourself struggling with as in this example, with a very nuanced, sort of difficult situation, it can take hours of your time. So that's really interesting to hear the efficiency difference. Ryan, over to you.
Yeah, and I mean, 20 minutes less of Rachel's time is a very valuable thing. An hour less of Rachel's time is a very valuable thing. But also, Rachel's got other classes. She's got like a ton of research projects she's involved in that she's working hard on. Like I have like 60 hours of meetings a week. Like if something comes in, say at 9:30 a.m. when I'm in a block of meetings until 6 p.m., the student at minimum is going to get a 9-hour delayed response. They're only going to get a fast response if they're lucky. Whereas if I can just see the GPTA post in between meetings for like a second, like for 2 minutes, just read through it, say, okay, this is sane. Let me go ahead and hit the button to post it. They get a response massively quicker. So it's both the convenience. There's both the reduced total amount of time on our part, but it's also the just massively faster response for the student.
Yeah, 100%. So Ryan, tell me about the question I want to ask is like concerns around the TA inadvertently doing the work for the student, giving the student the correct answer. You could kind of like, I could see a student not being manipulative, or maybe that's a word, kind of going in there and sort of working their way towards a correct answer, that kind of thing. Like, talk to me about that.
So we have two kinds of assignments in this class. The first kind we call basic assignments, and there's actually hints in the learning system. It's something where they do their work and they put in answers into a learning system, and it checks their answer right away. And there's actually hints in there. So those hints are not bad. We've put a lot of effort into them over the years, but they're not nearly as tailored and customizable as GPTA. Point being, though, we're not really worried about somebody getting to the answer at GPTA. I mean, if we did see on the discussion forum that they really weren't doing their work, it would be visible to us, right? We'd be seeing it in real time. The creative assignments, there's no one correct solution. There's like, just a large number of solutions. And we've actually seen students in there like doing things like asking GPTA, so I'm supposed to do feature engineering involving this variable, but I have no ideas. Give me some ideas. And GPTA gives ideas. That actually strikes me as a legit way to do it, because that's the thing they might be able to do in real life.
Yeah. 100%.
So I'm kind of, in this class, I'm not perturbed if students overuse GPTA. If they really abused it, we would see it. It's very different than almost any other way of them getting help that would be completely invisible to us.
That is really cool. Rachel, any thoughts from you there as well? The same kind of question about using it randomly or using it in a different way, or I don't know, just using it nefariously, using the GPTA for purposes that you did not intend.
Yeah, there was one example, and Ryan kind of just mentioned it in his experiences. I think that GPTA is good for assisting with creative purposes, such as composing a poem or brainstorming ideas for an assignment. And once I asked GPTA to write a poem that encourages students to use the markup features in the discussion forum and also the bulletin points to format their code in a readable format. And GPTA was able to give me a beautiful poem. And I think that was really a good bonus for the post that I posted on the forum.
I love it. I love it. Rachel, as you've, Ryan said you've got other classes, you've got other TA assignments, etc. what has been the buzz or the feedback or any sort of conversations you've had with either other TAs or other professors about this tool? Is there interest? Is there like I'll leave it there. You tell me what you've experienced.
Yeah, actually, I just received an email this morning from other professor saying that, oh, do you have time to meet? I would like to adapt GPTA as my course for next spring. And if you're available, let's chat about the details of it and how you implement it. So yes, I do see professors and also other people's interest in adapting GPTA as part of their course or project. And yeah.
Nice, excellent. Ryan, have you also found that?
Yes, we've got one other instructor in our program, Professor Shah, who's going to be using it in her class in spring, and she's doing some work to adapt it this fall. But I hadn't heard about this other professor, Rachel, so I'm excited to hear who it is. And
Nice, we made it Discovery Live, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear how we can support them. I just spoke at a university event last night, and there was a lot of enthusiasm. I have this sudden fear that we're going to have like 30 classes in a couple semesters. It's a good fear.
Sure, it's a good fear, and I think that would be a great problem to have, because I could see how this would turn into its own thing, right? Like in terms of a project that has real robust values around it. Talk to me about moving this into the humanities, into the medical sciences, into other music, the arts. How is this adaptable to other parts, other studies, etc.?
I certainly think so. I think that different courses need different things, but I'm going to be using it this spring in a course that is much more focused on societal impacts of educational technology and on deploying them in the real world. In that class, we'll be actually having students get feedback from GPTA on their ideas for their projects. I think that's a paradigm that you could imagine in a lot of classes where the focus is more conceptual and less programming based. I don't know if GPTA will be able to listen to music anytime soon. That'll depend on technology developed by folks other than us. But I think that I can't see why this couldn't work on a range of domains, just as in my daily life, I use ChatGPT in a variety of domains. Just takes a little bit of adaptation and tweaking.
Just so you know, there's already vocal coaches out there. So that's very interesting, right? Like with the explosion of these generative AI tools, I'm just befuddled. Like, so our daughter, as everybody knows here, and who's been I've got 3 kids, and our daughter takes vocal lessons, and we found an online vocal coach, and gosh darn if it isn't really good. Like, listens to them sing and then provides feedback on the different tonalities and different emphasis, and it's kind of crazy. Final question for you guys. Rachel, why don't we start with you? What would you like to see next? Obviously, you're coming to the end of you're going to come to the end of the semester. You're going to look at the data and see, what was good, what was bad. What are you excited for next semester already, kind of as this kind of continues to grow?
Yeah, so right now our model GPTA uses the GPT 3.5 model because of the token limit. The course content we prepared in the training data exceed the 4K limit that's currently imposed for GPT-4 model. But I would really like to see, especially now, I hear that the 32K model for GPT-4 is available to use very soon. I would really like to consider interpreting a GPT-4 powered model to enable GPTA to understand and produce images in its responses to further broaden its capabilities. Imagine if we asked GPTA to produce a flowchart, also to understand the brainstorming map. It would be so cool. Also, I hope to develop a classification model that helps GPTA to differentiate between the question it should respond to and those it shouldn't. So right now, it's responding to every single post, even if something is really not a post or questions that need to be answered. For example, student submitting an assignment. That's not something GPTA needs to answer, but it's answering it regardless. So I hope to develop a classification model that could help it to differentiate the post it should respond to and improving its quality and relevance to its response as well.
Super
Also, based
awesome.
on the survey data, we hope to continuously train GPT-A with more content based on the current year data, and also add on more information to it. We were discussing how we can incorporate the hints in the basic assignment as part of the training data, so that GPT-A would also able to understand or debugging questions that related to our course assignment.
Ryan, same question to you. What are you already kind of looking forward to? Anything that you're that you're going to change, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rachel's got a good pulse on what our development priorities are and what we want to do. I mean, I'm particularly excited to see it next semester really start to be involved in helping students quick iterate their ideas. Students actually putting in assignments and getting kind of back and forth feedback on it. Like, a big part of this semester this semester's course is students giving each other feedback. So we want to suppress GPT-A there. Here, we really want to use that to kind of get them a lot more feedback. I'm really excited to see how that works. I definitely agree with Rachel that we need to get it better at knowing when it should respond and when it shouldn't, because that's actually a little annoying for us to have to look at all those things where we know it shouldn't be responding at all. And I'll kind of finish that with one last thought, which is not even thought, but anecdote, which I wanted to share at some point today. So I'm just going to make the opportunity, which is that one of the things that got wrong, and it's been so right all semester, but one of the things that got wrong that was kind of hilarious was Tanvi, our other TA, posted about her office hours. And GPT-A snarked at her and said that her office hours weren't at a convenient time for the students. And
Nice.
And that was we suppressed that, but that was not something we wanted to see. And it shows that these technologies, as much as they're incredibly smart, they're still really dumb. So that's why we always need a human in the loop.
100%. Rachel and Ryan, you are both at the University of Pennsylvania. You're putting your extreme expertise to use to putting this TA JetGPT-A in play in one of your courses, and it sounds like it's already starting to expand. I'm very excited for you, but I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your very, very busy days to talk with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, there you have it. Excuse me, Ryan Baker and Rachel Liu talking about how they implemented ChatGPT-TA, or in one of the classes there at the University of Pennsylvania. Super fascinating stuff. These are the kind of deeper conversations that I really love that we've had here in this summit, and that are continuing on over in our Discord server, and really literally kind of across the world right now, right? And now as we're having this summit right now at the end of November, that semester is now coming to a close. And so now we're going to start seeing, what will bloom in the semester to come, the year to come, et cetera. You already saw some really interesting, pieces in that conversation about how it worked well, how it didn't work so well, how the jury is still out about how it could work. And I'd love to have your feedback, your input, your conversation over in our Discord server. If you would be so kind as to join us over there, I'm going to just give a look and see what that looks like. Shazam, there we are. This is our Discord server over here. Again, it works just like Teams. It works just like Slack, just like WhatsApp, whatever messaging system you have. But this is where you could put questions for our previous speaker, Allison Powell, Ryan and Rachel, and also our next speaker as well, Natalie Mombois. Chris has been putting up resources that have come out through this presentation and all of the presentations before as well. And so come over and join us there. That's how we continue the conversation and keep it going, throughout the day. Again, also, if you're unable to continue to join us, to continue to carry on with us, this presentation is already available and ready to go in our All Access Pass area. So if you're not going to be able to, carve out an hour of your time to watch this one, or as you can see here on your screen right now, the dozens and dozens of other presentations that are available for the next 24 hours, this All Access Pass is an incredibly affordable way to make sure you have access to this information and this content going forward. I also just want to throw up on the screen here how we get to that Discord server again. It's elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. Just leave it up there for just a second so that you can, if you're interested in going over there, come over and check it out. And then finally, so we have our third and final presenter today is a woman named Natalie Monbois, and she works for a company called Hour One. She's the head of strategy there, and she's going to be talking about how we use digital twins. So basically, how do you make a copy of yourself in the using AI, and then using that as a powerful tool to scale education. And she's got a great case study that she's going to be sharing here. So I will pull that up right now. Shazam, and away we go. I give you Natalie. Hello, my name's Ladek, and I'm the principal for e-learning advocacy at OpenLMS. The presentation you're about to watch is one part of our AI and Learning Summit. I encourage you to check out all of the talks in this series as we discuss the tools of today, the near and not so near future, and the challenges that we need to address around these new technologies. Our expert for this session is Natalie Monbois. Natalie is the head of strategy and a founding team member at Hour One, a virtual human and generative video company. She has spent her career at the forefront of emerging media and technologies, identifying them early and then demonstrating their cultural and commercial relevance by putting them into practice and generating tangible value. Please join me as we welcome Natalie on the main stage for her presentation on how AI video and virtual twins are personalizing and scaling on-demand learning. Hello, Natalie. Welcome to the main stage here at the AI and Learning Summit. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you, Stephen. How are you?
I am wonderful. We have speakers from all over the world, Ireland, Australia, Latin America, etc. Where do we find you sitting today?
I'm in New York.
New York. Like New York, like Manhattan, New York, or like upstate New York?
Not today. Today I'm actually on Long Island, enjoying the sunshine out here, beginning of summer. So.
Nice, excellent. We want to start this presentation or this conversation talking about your company, talking about the platform, etc. So why don't you give us an introduction about a little bit about you and the organization you work for?
Absolutely. So my name is Natalie Monbiot, and I'm the head of strategy at Hour One. We're a generative video company founded just over 4 years ago. So at this point, everyone in the audience is familiar with generative AI. We are in that same field, really focused on video and virtual human characters, and being able to recreate lifelike characters in video form so that you can make endless amounts of video without having to go through the whole process of a shoot, having talent and a crew and everything, on site at the same time in order to create any kind of video content. We've really helped to transform this notion that anyone can create studio quality video content. And so we really specialize in the virtual character. That's what we started with. But since then, we've been very busy building a kind of all-in-one self-service platform that enables you as someone that works in the e-learning or learning and development field or other fields or for other disciplines such as marketing, to be able to go in without actually having the know-how to produce videos or even to write scripts these days. You can just sort of bring your idea or your prompt, and you can create videos from scratch with very little material and talent to start with. So yeah, we're making it easier and easier for anyone to create videos for kind of business purposes, and the majority of our use cases are kind of learning and development and e-learning and product tutorials and that kind of thing. And the main promise is, like, if you believe that video works for whatever it is you're trying to achieve in business, then we're a really good platform to work with. Like, you have to kind of believe that video is a medium that is very effective. And so that's what we believe, that's what we know. And so we're very focused on creating the tools to make video creation in a very high quality as easy as possible.
Fantastic. I guess we should dive in and show them like a little bit what that looks like.
Absolutely.
All right.
So what you're looking at here is Our One's Reels platform. Little tongue-in-cheek name there. So what it's referring to is that we're actually using real characters or virtual characters based on real people. And we can go into that a little bit more in our case study. But for now, I just want to give you just a little tour of our platform. So you can, you just log in and you can start in a few different ways. You can start with a template. So as I mentioned, we kind of help people make videos in different fields or for different purposes. So it might be for product marketing, social marketing, product experience, and you can see here news and learning and development is definitely an area of focus. So what we've done is we've created these video templates to make it super simple to create videos that don't just feature an instructor. And when people hear from an instructor, they feel more connected to the content, they're paying more attention, they're more engaged. What we also wanted to do is to make the whole video editing experience really templatized and easy so that you can create videos just with a few pushes of the button or of your mouse. And you can make finished videos which are professional looking, just in this kind of fully automated fashion. So what we're looking at here is we've just sort of clicked into one of the L&D appropriate templates. And what you can see here is a whole host of different presenters that you can choose from. So the list goes on and on. And as you can see, we're striving for representation, both in ethnicity and age and gender, so that you can find virtual characters that are representative of your business and also the audience that you're trying to connect with. So you can pick one or more of these presenters. What you can also do is you can create custom presenters. And so this is me. This is one version of me. Having been at the company since the beginning, I've had a few captures. This is also me. This is our CEO. And in any case, the point is you can have an executive in your organization or a talent that you have access to essentially digitized with their permission and made available in the platform. But we'll just stick with Brianna for this demo. And what you have here is just some pre-populated generic text just to show you where the text goes and how it all works. But essentially, you have these different scenes and you're able to edit these scenes. So you can edit the title on the slide or the video scene. And then this is the narrative that the presenter will say. And it's all laid out in video scenes. So it's kind of like this storyboard that you start with. And what we can do as well, like you can just start with a different prompt. I don't know, let's say, make a video about learning and development in the New York area. I don't know, I'm just making that up. So let's see what it comes up with. And you can hit this magic button and what it will do is it will start to pre-populate a video according to that script. The other thing that you can do, so here we go. You've got a script, which is just, like what the system has come up with. We've integrated different technologies such as GPT-4 to help with these components of the platform. And what you can see is actually the images are also pre-populated, and it pre-populates with images that are actually fully licensed. So you're allowed to use these images, and you can see this is all kind of laid out for you. And most likely you'll read this and you'll be like, okay, well, this is a good starting point. This helps, solve the blank page syndrome, and I can edit from here. Equally, if you're in the L&D or e-learning space, you probably already have a lot of text. And the point is you have text, but you don't have video. And so what you do is you just populate the scenes with text, the text that you have. But this is just a feature that we're showcasing. If you don't have the text fully written, then the system can write it for you. You can also translate into different languages. So if you're trying to reach an audience in different markets, you can also take advantage of the kind of automated language translation features within the platform as well. So making it super easy to localize and translate your videos and make them as personalized and as relevant to your audience as possible. The other way in is, so we've got all these different templates. Let's see, we can just show you different ones. So these ones are 3D templates. You can kind of see the scenes are very immersive. And these are all ones that we've created specifically for news. And news, of course, can be actual news, or it can be,
don't say it.
News.
Don't say it. It could be fake news. No, I'm just playing.
That's the one thing it won't be, because actually something that we do is we highly encourage our customers to disclose that the videos are computer generated. So there's nothing about what we do that is in the realm of deep fakes, which is actually pretending that the video was made the traditional way, or somebody actually said these things. We actually have contracts in place with anybody that becomes a virtual character on our platform, determining the type of content that they will show up in. And then also permissions. So for example, if you're going to create a custom character of an executive in your organization or of yourself, you most likely will be the only person that is allowed to make content using your virtual twin. So we've actually, one of the first things we did as a company was to lay the legal foundations and the contractual foundations for a kind of commercial and ethical deployment of this technology.
Wow.
And so it, we have major brands, major clients that, what we want to do is build trust and provide an excellent service. And the reason that, large brands want to work with us is because we're very buttoned up and very consistent about our approach to this type of technology.
Fantastic.
So so basically we can also create custom templates for you. So if you wanted to create something that was immersive, but with your branding, we can create something from scratch. Maybe you have an environment, like a real world environment that you want to create digitally. Then that's absolutely something that we can do. And as an example, what you do, so we're just diving into this template, and you see the different scenes. What we do is we create these different scenes for you. So you can keep the video very dynamic by switching up the scenes, having close-ups, pan shots, content-only shots. So you can construct a video literally just kind of in a kind of, drag and drop sort of way that looks like it was fully edited and, in a kind of a studio environment with that professional look and feel. So that's a little bit of a tour of the platform. You can also pick different voices, and you can see that it comes in many different languages. It's also possible to clone your own voice on the platform these days, if that is important to you. This is where you can create your own style guide. You can create your own palette according to your brand colors. You just enter them in there. Add your own logo, music. You can even insert other video content. So there's lots of options, making this a one-stop shop for professional video creation without the skills of a professional video creator. So that's just a little dive around.
Fantastic. Thanks for taking us through that. Appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I really like those, like the 3D sets that you can come in rather than just sort of having a flat background or just sort of a presentation background. I think that's a really nice add.
Yeah,
I'm sort of terrified for all of the acting talent out there and the writing talent out there, but I guess that's part of the conversation going forward, right? About how do we make this, how do we evolve into this new reality that we have?
Yeah, just to address your first comment. So we actually have around templates. We're really into making these templates and creating templates that inspire people to create video in loads of different ways that they hadn't really thought about before. Like we want to put these ideas and sort of tools right in front of you. And we're also capturing more and more characters every week, so that you have this kind of diversity of a tool set available to you. Regards, what this means for real talent in the real world, what we've found is like our business is really serving companies that have never actually used talent or can't
they would have never have bought it in the first place.
No, exactly. It's not like, oh, we use all of this talent. Oh, and actually instead of that, we're going to do this. It's like, we have not had the ability to create, talent-driven content or instructor-driven content at this scale, because we also make it extremely cost-effective to do it. So it's not really replacing anything. It's kind of creating something new. And I would say, in general, the thing that we're disrupting is text. So
nice.
It's not really people, it's text.
Yeah.
So, now you can elevate your text-based content into an immersive video experience with very little lift. And so that's really where the transformation is happening. For the
Fantastic. I love that. And I love I love the growing the pie perspective of that. That's really nice. Yeah. Excellent. I want to move us into our case study, because I think it really speaks to not only how a really nice brand that everybody knows is using this, but also the scale opportunity. So can I bring that up on the
Absolutely. So one of our original customers, enterprise customers, is Berlitz. And they really saw the opportunity in this technology specifically to solve a need that they had in very early on. So this is like 4 years ago, nearly, that we first started talking to them. And what they needed to do was so if you're familiar with Berlitz, they're a 150-year-old company, preeminent in language learning company in the world, with schools. Like as a kid, I went to Berlitz schools, lived with a family in France and went to Berlitz in the day. That was kind of, a ritual for me and many other people. But that is kind of a relatively exclusive way to learn a language. And with digital transformation going on everywhere, and a lot of language, digital first and mobile first language learning companies out there, Berlitz clearly needed to, find their way of doing it. But their whole thing is about instructor-led content. So keeping the instructor in the content, and a real instructor, a photo real, actual expressive instructor. Because for them, it's not just about language learning, it's about cultural learning and kind of expressiveness and, all of these things. So they actually spent a lot of time researching how they could scale their instructor-led content while staying true to the Berlitz method. And they eventually found us. And what we did was I'm just going to flick through here a little bit, because we kind of covered a little bit of this already. So what they discovered in a solution that they could work with us on is to basically digitize their instructors in order to be able to emulate their expressiveness in a way that was lifelike and still able to sort of express themselves in a human way, in the way that you would learn from a real person to the highest extent possible, and to be able to scale production in a way that was manageable and efficient, and also ultimately to be able to free up a lot of their team's time from video production, meaning having talent in a studio, shooting, reshooting content constantly to create this, a massive bank of content, which is what they require. So in the first batch, we actually made 8 different instructors. You can see that they're pretty ethnically diverse and representative, which is something that was very important to them. And these, by the way, are all based on real people in real life. So we wanted to make sure that they could kind of be humanly expressive, like I mentioned. So they pass, a version of the Turing test in that respect. Is this character able to kind of, and, create some kind of like connection with a real human student. And then also a natural mouth movements and pronunciation that could scale to all 56 Berlitz's languages. And also we enabled Berlitz to put their characters into any video environment. Since then, we actually have all the video environments in our platform. So that's something that they may also be transitioning to. But we can do transparent backgrounds, or we can build the backgrounds, like I mentioned, within the platform. So you can do everything in the same place. And the other thing is around storage and scalability. So they actually did their initial, they did English, the first language, the traditional way, capturing instructors in a studio. And that just turned into a very laborious and difficult to manage process, because you have to do reshoots. You have the same instructor coming in the next day, let's say to do some reshoots or create new content. And even if they're wearing the same things, they just look a bit different. Their hair's a bit different, very difficult to manage the look and feel and the consistency when you're creating that much video content. And then also from a storage perspective, with us, they're able to just like put everything into the cloud and not have to actually touch the videos and deal with the files until ultimately they were downloaded and ready to deploy. So in terms of results, we initially made 18,000 videos by the time we made this case study last year. So we've gone on to make more than that since. And so basically to be able to distribute the Berlitz method to all the whole world beyond its 70 initial markets where it actually has a physical presence in. And it actually saved a full year of internal staffing hours, which could be reinvested back into the digital learning curriculum, which is the part that, the learning designers, that's basically their skill set. So they could reinvest their time into their skill set and not into kind of laborious production. And not written here, but something that we've also learned since is that people basically, so I mentioned that English was already done, but the traditional way, and then using virtual instructors, they did German and French, and now we're going on to do Spanish and other languages. And basically the favorability scores towards the content actually increased when with the content that was made with virtual characters versus real ones. So I think that really helps to kind of demonstrate that this is actually an effective way to scale content, and that people accept it.
The question I was asked is, is there a way we can monetize? Like, what is a full year of internal staffing hours save? Like, like their global worldwide staff or just their L&D, like which? Yeah.
So, okay. A full year of internal staffing of basically people that are in charge of creating content for the curriculum. So basically, the people on the instructional designers and people designing the product experience.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's still a huge save. I mean, that's just a massive amount of savings there. Super cool. I love, and I also love that the AI generated content is actually having more success than the human generated content. Any thoughts behind why that might be?
I think part of it is like it looks really good, like as in it's like very polished. When we capture a virtual character or a real human and we turn them into a virtual character, like we have really good lighting.
Sure, yeah.
They're in a really good mood, like everything's great. And we're able to extend and replicate that infinitely. So you just have this kind of standard of content and lighting, and
it's just like it levels up the whole game. That's really that's really interesting to think about, right? Because we've talked about this in other places. Actually, the summit last year, that one of the key things was how do you deliver learning content in a way. And some of that's just really simple, like, hey, learn how to look at the camera, learn, have a little better microphone,
Right.
get some good lighting. And so to hear you say that those are factors that play into a more successful L&D experience as well. That's really interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, and actually the word that I was looking for is actually like preference. It's the preference score between the courses. And I think we should also add, I don't think it's like students prefer virtual instructors to real ones. It's like in this module though, this is like one key component of the on-demand learning, which is you're skipping, you're kind of answering, you're listening to the content, how something is said, seeing how it's said and kind of moving on. But complementary aspects of this are like live, interactions on Zoom, that. And then obviously like there's the in-person element of learning a language. But as far as you're talking about kind of the digitized portion and the on-demand portion of content, I think, anecdotally elsewhere as well, just people appreciate high quality, consistent, snappy, polished, I think is quite handy in that context.
Super cool. Was this your yeah, it is your last slide, sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, if we want, we can just like look at a little video which recaps what we did together.
Yep, hold on one second. I'm going to pull that up. Here we go.
我们可以建立一个更善解人意的未来。
That's actually a video done by artificial intelligence.
Berlitz, premier provider of language and culture training, invested in AI video generation to scale a video curriculum while preserving their instructors, which is key to their methodology.
مرحبا.
Herzlich willkommen. Welcome.
This breakthrough video technology generates an AI character, which can read a script in any language, dramatically speeding up the production process. An actor is filmed for a few minutes, capturing a range of expressions. AI uses this footage to create endless amounts of video without the need for more filming. In a matter of minutes, actors can speak languages they've never spoken.
It's remarkable.
These actors are compensated with unique licensing deals, giving them a passive revenue stream for only a few minutes of work. The technology allows for unprecedented scalability, with swift video customization in 56 languages. The result? An AI-powered language learning system that's rooted in humanity and accessible to the world.
Wow.
Super cool. Yeah, no, that's a great way to wrap up that. I guess let me ask you the question that is always on my mind is what were the challenges? It's easy to talk about this like, oh, hey, look, we did this. It was really successful. Wow, great. Like what were some of the hiccups or the challenges that you experienced maybe with Berlitz or with other clients?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're always working on so many different components of our product that it's always improving. It's not the same quality as a real person talking in fantastic lighting and with the expressiveness of a real person talking. So I would say for some use cases, it's not the right solution where you need someone like walking around a room and kind of like spontaneously, laughing or being extremely human, right? This is not the use case.
I feel like that's your next book, Being Extremely Human, right?
Things we say these days. So I think that like the thing that we come across, I guess, come up against is, what is the objective of the customer? Like, is this the right solution for the objective? It's definitely not the right solution for every objective. So, sifting through that and aligning expectations and also aligning expectations at different stages because, when we started with Berlitz, we didn't have hands. And actually in that video, you don't see hands, but now we do have hands. So things do evolve.
Wow.
And we've got more movement in the head, not walking around yet, but that's in R&D. So we have like it's basically a moving target the whole time. And we're constantly pushing from an R&D perspective, from a product usability perspective, and just like balancing all the components, listening to our customers for like what the priorities are, because there's so many things that we want to do and only so much time and focus that we can commit to each thing. So I would say it's kind of like, understanding whether we have a fit, and at that moment in time is always, you know, a bit of a process. Sometimes what we found actually with e-learning and learning and development in particular is that we really can solve the majority of kind of challenges in that space. And so that's the reason that we've ended up doubling down in this space, is that we actually have learned that we have a solution that really fits the problem of trying to make content more immersive and engaging. The content itself is already on demand in nature, so that's perfect for us. And I would say, you know, things like when you want it to be a live interaction, we're not quite there yet.
Mhm.
That will come. So like, again, it's like, okay, so you want live? No, this is not, you know, we can't provide that in a high quality way today. So I'd say it's just like aligning expectations, and you know, and different customers have different priorities. Like, you know, in the case of a language learning platform, you know, sort of precision
Sure.
is extremely important. For some others, it's kind of speed and cost effectiveness. So yeah, I would say it's like, you know, because we're a constantly moving target. It's and constantly evolving and having like different breakthroughs in R&D and in production. It's just a constant evolution of what we can provide, and, you know, the match that we can create with the market.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of reemphasize that point too. I often think about, so with Berlitz, yeah, precision. I mean, a language doesn't evolve all that much, right? They do evolve, and there's certain different things that you would put in there, whatnot. So accuracy and that precision is key. But like a technology company or a consumer product company where you've got a new model, or, you know, hey, here's a new software update or whatever, like,
Yeah.
you know, the efficiency of throwing something, you know, being able to push something out to your training team or your sales team or your customer support team, whatever, that's a huge difference in your objective and why you do something like this, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly.
Cool. So I heard my last question for you is, and please, for anybody who's listening to this, you know, jump into the Discord and, you know, ask away. I'm sure Natalie or somebody else from Hour One will be there to answer any questions. But I heard you say, you know, hands came, and then, you know, you're working on, you know, full body kind of walking around. Like, what are you most excited about maybe 12, 18 months down the road that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, that's great. So for me, it is expressiveness and just more expressiveness and movement. That I get really excited about when we have those types of breakthroughs. And then the other component that I'm really excited about is we actually just soft launched our mobile app, which enables you to much more easily become a virtual character yourself.
Whoa.
And start creating content. Yeah, it's
like this is
wild.
like literally like, hey, here I'm going to be doing the selfie, like captured in order to build my own avatar.
Right. So that's the idea. So like, I'd say that, you know, we've really kind of removed the friction from creating high quality, professionally edited, studio grade content, right? But something that is still something you have to do or had to do up until now is to basically do an initial shoot in a studio. And that takes scheduling, you know, takes having access, it takes booking or paying for a studio. There is that initial, you know, if it's not happening in one of our studios, that is, like, you know, we can do this on location, by the way, for any business. So just have a studio nearby, arrange a shoot, and, you know, it is very simple. But the idea of kind of like really democratizing access to anyone to be able to become a virtual twin and start making content for their business just sort of instantly is something that I'm excited about in the next 12 to 18 months.
Super cool. Natalie, thank you so much for taking us through your service today. And this case study on Berlitz, I think it's just absolutely fascinating to see what we can do. Really, really appreciate it. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you or someone at Hour One about this?
Yeah, I mean, you can email me at Natalie, Natalie at hour1.ai. And you can also find us on LinkedIn. We're pretty active there, and on all the social channels.
Super cool. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Tito.
All right. That is our AI and Learning Summit November session. Thank you to Natalie, who you just saw there from Hour One. Thank you to Rachel and Ryan from from the University of Pennsylvania, that was our second presentation. And thank you to Allison Powell, who was our first presentation. All of them talking about different aspects of how we're using artificial intelligence in the learning space, how it's disrupting, how it's creating efficiencies, how it's creating successes and, incredible outcomes, but then also, some of the challenges that are out there. I loved, with Natalie, her presentation talking about their model for paying actors and the licensing agreement that they have. That's really interesting. I was just watching a different but related conversation, happening. It was presented by one of my colleagues in one of our chats around, a DJ that has their voice now being used by a radio station for promotions for, being used. And it's clearly their voice, and the radio station used their voice and use an AI emulator in order to create, continue to use them. But what's the legal precedent there about, continuing to use someone's voice? That's really, it's really interesting to see how these types of things play out. I hope you've enjoyed all 3 of the sessions that we've had today. Just want to, remind everyone that our Discord stays open here, right? So this is pulling it up right here. This is our Discord server over here. There's chat happening right now. There's people asking questions. You see Marcy's asking about the name of Natalie's platform, etc. CJ asking some questions about, where to actually just find the presentations today. If you have questions for the presenters, you can go to our channel for presenters. There's a resources section for, all of the resources that were talked about today and all of the presentations in the past. So come over, check out that Discord server. I'm going to throw it up on the screen here one last time. If you want to join us, just go over to elearnmagazine.com, AIL/AIL Discord. Again, that's elearnmagazine.com/AIL Discord. They'll get you in there. Again, remember that there's no cost there. It works just like Slack or Teams or WhatsApp, any other chat platform that you've used in the past. The other thing I want to remind you about is that we do have an all access pass, and this all access pass allows you to see all of these presentations for life, right? At your leisure. And so here's, again, Natalie's presentation is already there in the all access pass vault. You can come in and watch this presentation along with the dozens of others that we've had around the tools of today, around the, the near and not so near future and the challenges that we're all experiencing here as AI continues to disrupt, not only the learning space, but all other spaces out there as well. And then just as a reminder, the added incentive, of course, for the all access pass is that we have all of the content from 2002, 2001 and 2020 in the AI in the sorry, I got my brain scrambled up there, in the all access pass vault as well. And so we're talking well over 100, maybe even 150 videos about how do you create effective online education ready to go and available to you today. So go over and check that out as well. Finally, this is our last session. I want to thank everyone our last session for this year, for 2023. I really want to thank everyone who has joined us over the last couple of months, as well as today. And if you do want to reach out to us, you can find us over at OpenLMS. I'm the principal at eLearning Advocacy there. My friend and colleague Chris has been in the background here putting up these banners and helping us through. You'll also find him in the Discord server as well. Come over and find us at openlms.net and elearnmagazine.com. That's how you get a hold of us. So I wish you all a great day, and we'll look forward to seeing you in 2024 with more great content.